Yes, it is I, your humble host, Bill Hatch the Third, coming to you live from the palatial home studios of Bald Spots Productions here in the beautiful city of Santa Ana, California. Joining me in studio, as per usual, is my friend, my brother in Christ, the disembodied voice of Rudy.
Hi, everybody. I love y'all. Waka, waka, waka with the Lord.
And currently on vacation are my parents, our beloved producer Eileen Hatch and my dear father Bill Hatch, Chaplain Bill Hatch. They are in the same time zone, but the Wi-Fi is apparently not letting them connect. So we will be doing this sans parentals. So I guess that will happen from time to time as they are out enjoying the retirement life. But so we got quite a bit to go through this evening, as we are. This is anything. This is YWL Online's Anything Can Happen. No, Totally Approachable Bible Study for All. Trying to get used to saying the name of the show up front. Yes, sir.
We're doing Psalms, right?
We're doing Psalms. Yes, sir. We
Okay.
are.
Okay, people, imagine this. God said David is a man after my own heart. God said Abraham walked with God, was friends with Abraham. Enoch walked with God.
Yep.
Any others that they say walk with God are
All sorts of them.
but you know what's beautiful? Imagine walking with God and I'm walking down the street and 10 Romans want to beat me up. And I'll say, God, I need you. So it's funny because imagine, but then too, you got to be a better, stronger person. I think you got to be a higher, well, they already had the faith that with God that's why God walked with these guys.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, God walked with me. Hey, Rudy, why are you doing that? Oops, sorry, God. Because he wouldn't walk with me because I'm a not bad person, but you know, we're not as good as these guys that they walk with God. So imagine that you can walk with God and just talk with God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I wanted to say because that's a beautiful thing. Imagine if God said, Rudy's my best pal. That would be beautiful.
It would be beautiful.
I love y'all. Waka, waka, waka with the Lord.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you had some, let's see, if you had a minute for us, but
That was my minute.
that was your minute?
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of jumped the gun there.
Oops.
Didn't wait for me to invite you.
I was too excited. I have to let
Too
everybody
excited.
know.
Okay. That's cool. So yeah, so it's going to be the two of us tonight, and we're, as Rudy said, we're going to be going through the Psalms. We're starting with Psalm 59, and we'll go from there and see how far we can get. So hope I've got quite a bit of material here. I've added another translation of the Bible, which added some information in it, and I thought would be useful. And so let's get rolling. Okay, starting with Psalm 59. The Amplified calls it Prayer for Rescue from Enemies. To the chief musician, set to the tune of Do Not Destroy. So also in Psalms 57 and 58, that same tune. It is a Mixum of David, a record of memorable thoughts. And it was written when Saul sent men to watch his house to kill him. That's what the Amplified says. The English Standard Version calls it Deliver Me from My Enemies. Pardon me. It's written to the choir master, according to Do Not Destroy, a Mixum of David, when Saul sent men to watch his house to kill him. Young's literal translation says, To the overseer, Destroy Not, by David, a secret treasure. In Saul's sending, and they watched the house to put him to death. I think I forgot to write some part of that down. Oh well. Let's see. The NIV also doesn't give a title, just says for the director of music to the tune of Do Not Destroy of David, a Mictum, when Saul had sent men to watch David's house to kill him. Let's see. And the new one, the Berean Standard Bible, calls it Deliver Me from My Enemies. It's for the choir master to the tune of Do Not Destroy, a Mictum of David, when Saul sent men to watch David's house to kill him. It also says that this happened in 1 Samuel 19, verses 1 through 24. So you can look that up and find it yourself, which would be pretty cool. Let's see. MacArthur's overview, says, calls it another lament. It was written during David's reign, but recalls a time when Saul was trying to kill David. He specifies 1 Samuel 19:11, when Saul's daughter, David's wife, helped David escape through a window in the middle of the night. Let's see. To go to the actual, oops, I forgot to turn the page here. 61. Psalm 61. Hear my cry, O God, listen to my prayer. The pulpit commentary says on verse 1, David says, deliver me from mine enemies, O God, a lot. See Psalms 7, 17, 22, 25, 31, 35, 40, 43, 69, 70, 109, and more. But wait, there's more. I'm not going to go through the full list, but obviously getting delivered from his enemies was a big deal for David. He had a lot of people out to get him, including one of his sons. And it was a big deal to David to rely on God, and that's why, as Ruby said, David was a man after God's own heart, in that he was always going to God for help. Let's see, verse 2. From the end of the earth I call to you when my heart is over. Wait a minute, he's 61.
Can I say something real fast?
Yeah, I went to the wrong psalm.
You know what's beautiful is that David, even though he did bad, he killed and did things,
Mm-hmm.
he went to God sincerely with a crying heart and sincere to God, and that's why he was forgiven, right?
Right.
But see, that's why sometimes I talk to people that, let's say gang members that I have known, they don't want to go to God because they said I done bad things in my life.
Right.
Then I tell them, hey, King David, you got Paul,
Saul,
you got,
Paul, same
yeah,
guy.
you got
Moses. Yeah.
and they killed, but they still got forgiven. Even though it said thou shalt not kill, you shouldn't kill.
Right.
But what it is they killed and they went to God with a sincere heart, and God forgave them. That's why be sincere with God.
Right.
And you know what's good, Bill? Every time you say something, they can look it up in the Bible, right?
Yep.
Thank you. Back to you.
Okay. Okay. The actual verse 1 to 59, Psalm 59, verse 1 is, deliver me from my enemies, O my God, set me securely on an inaccessible high place away from those who rise up against me. Let's see. Okay, and then verse 2, and that was the deliver me from mine enemies, O God, that he says it a lot. Let's see, verse 2, deliver me from those who practice wrongdoing and save me from bloodthirsty men. Let's see, the pulpit commentary again. Foreign enemies are never reproached with being bloody men, since war is in their trade, and it is their business to wound and slay. So he's talking about some bloodthirsty men are the people of his own country. So we're talking about other Israelites, other people from God's nation, from Judah probably. Let's see, then 3. Let's see. You can tell when let's see, 3. Look, they lie in wait for my life. Fierce and powerful men are uniting together to launch an attack against me, not for my wrongdoing, nor for any sin of mine, O Lord. You can, according to the pulpit commentary, you can always tell when when it's an early Psalm of David's, because he is constantly talking about his innocence, his complete innocence. In verse 4, let's see, some translations say awake and others stir up. the amplified that I'm using says, "Stir yourself to meet and help me, and see what they are doing." Um, I like stir better than awake because awake implies that God sleeps and he doesn't. Um, let's see, going on to verse 6. Um, let's see. Oh, okay. They return at evening. They howl and snarl like dogs. These are half-starved wild dogs of eastern towns. So the word is very specific about what kind of dogs it is. Kind of like it made me think of Jesus and the Syrophoenician woman, where Jesus said. Where Jesus says that not to feed the dogs before the children, and the woman says replies that
The crumbs from the table.
the crumbs from the table, right? That the dog will even eat crumbs from a table, and they're using different words for dog, even though in our English translations it's only dog. So we need to be careful of that when reading the Bible, to understand when one word might be used for different things, and in order for us to understand what it is that's being spoken of. Not all dogs howl and snarl, so I know mine don't howl and snarl. Let's see, moving along. Verse 8, but you, O Lord, will laugh at them in scorn. You scoff at and deride all the nations. Let's see, MacArthur in his study Bible says, all those nations and my people in verse 11. In verse 11. Oh, okay. My people are in verse 11. Imply that this psalm was written while David was king. Okay, so even though this is about an earlier time in his life, possibly, it could be early in his kingship as well. Let's see, verse 11. To continue on with verse 11, in Ellicott's commentary. Let's see. First off, 11. Do not kill them, or my people will forget. Scatter them and make them wander endlessly back and forth by your power, and bring them down, O Lord, our shield. Ellicott says, scatter them and make them wander. The word was used with Cain and the Israelites during their 40 years of wandering in the desert. So it's the same word. Scatter them. It's like God making Cain leave the area where the rest of the first family were, and also making the Israelites wander during the 40 years of wandering in the desert. Let's see, verse 13 has the Selah in it, my favorite. Destroy them in wrath, destroy them so that they may be no more. Let them know that God rules over Jacob, that's Israel, to the ends of the earth. Selah. And of course, that means to take a moment and silently contemplate what's being said. We're going to run into a few of those this evening. And so we need to think about what it means for God to rule both Israel and the rest of us, since we are the spiritual offspring of the spiritual descendants of Abraham, and thus are part of the covenant. And then in 14, you can see that verse 14, they return at evening, they howl and snarl like dogs and go prowling around the city. It's a reprise of verse 6. So we can see how David gets things to go around in circles, and ties them all together nice and neatly. Let's see, and that's all I have written down for 59. And now we can go on to 60. Let's see. Okay, 60. 60's got quite a title. Let's see. The Amplified calls it Lament over Defeat in Battle and Prayer for Help. It's written to the chief musician, set to the tune of the Lily of the Testimony. It's a Michtam of David, intended to record memorable thoughts and to teach. When he struggled with the Arameans of Mesopotamia and the Arameans of Zobah, and when Joab returned and struck 12,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. The English Standard says he will titles it "He Will Tread Down Our Foes." It's written to the choir master, according to Shushan Eduth, a Michtam of David, for instruction when he strove with Aram Naharaim and Aram Zobah, and when Joab on his return struck down 12,000 of Edom in the Valley of Salt. So you can see the slight differences, but possibly important, good for our understanding. Young's Literal is written to the overseer concerning the Lily of Testimony, a secret treasure of David, to teach in his striving with Aram Naharaim and Aram Zobah, and Joab turneth back and smiteth Edom in the Valley of Salt, 12,000. So now we've got a number to go along with it. The NIV doesn't have a title for it either, but it's written for the director of music to the tune of the Lily of the Covenant, a Michtam of David, for teaching when he fought Aram Naharaim and Aram Zobah, and when Joab returned and struck down 12,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. And then the Berean Standard says calls it Victory with God, and gives 2 Samuel 8, 1 through 14, 1 Chronicles 18, 1 to 3, and Psalm 108, 1 to 13 as references. It's written for the choir master in the tune of Lily of the Covenant. We have to open. I got tired of writing. Let's see. A Michtam of David for instruction when he fought Aram Naharaim and Aram Zobah, and Joab returned and struck down 12,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. And according to the Berean Standard, Aram Naharaim means Aram of the two rivers, likely the region between the Euphrates and Bala rivers in northwestern Mesopotamia. And Zobah is the land northeast of Damascus. So one's to the northwest and one's to the northeast. See, MacArthur's overview says it's a national lament after defeat in 2 Samuel 8:13 and 1 Chronicles 18:12. David and the main part of the army fighting in the north. When they were up there fighting in the north, Edom attacked to the south of Judah, but David ultimately prevailed. Let's see, and verses 5 to 12 are more or less repeated in Psalm 108, 6 through 13. So again, David's using the same thing over and again. When he comes up with a great way to say something, I guess it's a great way to say something. He's going to say it again. But so will others. Let's see. Okay, moving on to the text. Psalm 60, verse 1. O God, you have rejected us and cast us off. You have broken down our defenses and scattered us. You have been angry. O restore us and turn again to us. Let's see, according to Ellicott, scattered us is literally broken us, a word used of a wall or fence, but in 2 Samuel 5:20 applied to the rout of an army, an event which gave its name to the locality Plain of Breaches. The two following verses seem to point to political breaches between North and South. Between North and South. The pulpit commentary says that the defeat that's talked about here is not mentioned in the histories, but harmonizes with the account given in First Kings of the harsh treatment of Edom by Joab. So in First Kings, of course, Joab beats, roundly hurts the Edomites, and they're saying that this harmonizes. But so we've got a little bit of a disagreement between the commentators, but that's okay. That's why we study them all, so that we can figure things out. And it does sound like the overwhelming opinion seems to be that it was about the Arameans and the Edomites. Okay, verse 2. How did I only go to verse 4? Wow. Okay. Verse 2. According to Ellicott, verse 2. Let's see. Okay. First, you have made the land quake. You have split it open. Heal its rifts, for it shakes and totters. That it should be Ellicott says that it should be earth rather than land, and that this makes it political. Of course, we know that that after Solomon, the nation of Israel splits into two, and we have Israel to the north and the 10 tribes to the north, and then Judah and Benjamin to the south. Right, Judah and Benjamin, yeah, and of course the Levites throughout. And so this is already talking about a split between the two parts of the country, and there will be no healing of it, at least not strictly speaking until we get to the 20th century, and 1945, I think. Let's see, verse 4, of course, has another Selah. You have set up a banner for those who fear you with awe-inspired reverence and submissive wonder, a banner to shield them from attack, a banner that may be displayed because of the truth. And so we need to contemplate on that. And, gosh, I don't know what it might mean. I didn't realize I'd stopped so short in in my study of Psalm 60. What am I going to do? Let's see. Well, let's head over here, and I will see. Let's see. Oh yeah, God's truth serves as a rallying point. Okay, I'm looking at MacArthur right now. And he says God and his truth serve as a rallying point for the perplexed people. Let's see. In verse 6, God has spoken in his holiness, in his promises. I will rejoice, I will divide the land of Shechem and measure out the valley of Succoth, west to east. And he says here, Shechem and Succoth are two territories on opposite sides of the Jordan occupied by Israel. Jordan had settled in Succoth, east of the Jordan, when he had returned from his sojourn with Laban. Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that. That's in Genesis 33. Let's see, and then 7, Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine, Ephraim is my helmet, Judah is my scepter. Gilead and Ephraim, all of these key geographical locations in Israel ultimately belong to God, who was more interested in their welfare than anyone else. By helmet, Ephraim was the primary source of defense to the north of Israel. And scepter, Judah was the tribe which was to govern Israel, from which David and his descendants came. Which, okay, is true. Let's see. Moab is my wash bowl, according to, oh, okay. This is a big deal one. According to the Amplified, the word for washbowl is the household pot used for washing the feet, which was considered the lowest of the low as far as jobs go. So this was definitely not a washbowl used for things that were considered good and all that. This would be something that a slave, the lowest of the slaves, would use to wash people's feet when they came into the house. Let's see. Moab is my washbowl. Over Edom I shall throw my shoe in triumph. Over Philistia I raise the shout of victory. Let's see. Moab. Okay, back to MacArthur. Moab, Edom, Philistia, the three principal enemies surrounding Israel to the northeast, southeast, and west, respectively. Moab is my wash basin. The psalmist pictures Moab as a humble, menial servant to God, either being or bringing a wash basin for his use. And he doesn't even mention about it being for foot washing. On Edom and Sandal, the picture is that of a man entering his house and throwing his shoes to his servant. Edom, like Moab, was a servant under God's sovereign control. And then over Philistia I shout. This difficult translation has two possibilities. Philistia shouts its submission to God, or two, God shouts over Philistia in victory. Either one exalts God as the victor/ruler. And then he doesn't say anything else until 12. Let's see. Well, the nation relearned the truth that only God gives victory. So that's an easy one. Through God we will have victory, for he will trample down our enemies. That's a pretty good one. I'm just going to pass these other notes. Psalm 61. Okay. Let's see. Psalm 61. The Amplified titles it Confidence in God's Protection. Written to the chief musician on stringed instruments, a Psalm of David. The English Standard Version calls it Lead Me to the Rock. It's written to the choir master with stringed instruments of David. Young's Literal, of course, doesn't give a title. To the overseer on stringed instruments by David. The NIV also doesn't title the Psalms, but it's written for the director of music with stringed instruments of David. And the Berean Standard says, You have heard my vows. Very different. For the choir master with stringed instruments of David. MacArthur's overview says, may have been written when Absalom, David's son, drove David out of Jerusalem in 2 Samuel 15 to 18. Let's see. Okay, 61. Hear my cry, O God, listen to my prayer. Cry is translated from, this is the pulpit commentary. It's translated from Rinna, a strong term meaning a shrill or piercing cry, may be from either joy or grief. An all-purpose word of sorts, but interesting. So this isn't just a little sobbing. This is a big deal kind of cry. Let's see, verse 2, from the end of the earth I call to you. Of course, David was across the Jordan, so in his mind, that may have been the ends of the earth to him. Let's see. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I, a rock that is too high to reach without your help. This is supported by Ellicott. The added bit of the Amplified, a rock that is too high to reach without your help. It might be better, lead me to the rock, might be better translated as lead me to the rock, too high for me to climb by myself, and place me there. The pulpit commentary says some believe the rock is God as opposed to Mount Zion, which definitely would be a rock too high to reach without God's help. we can't get to God without God. That's just truth. Let's see. Verse 3. Let's see. For you have been a shelter and a refuge for me, a strong tower against the enemy. A strong tower may refer to a migdal, a fortress like the great fortress of the south mentioned in Exodus 14:2. Let's see. And Proverbs 18:10 says, "The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runs to it and is safe and set on high, far above evil." I thought that was worth mentioning. Let's see, verse 4. Let me dwell in your tent forever. Let me take refuge in the shelter of your wings, Selah. Before we go contemplating it, we should look at what it might mean. And the pulpit commentary gives some light on it. Since David's in exile at the end of the earth, the literal tabernacle cannot be intended. So he's not talking about God's tent, the tent of worship, that is. It may be a spiritual abiding in the heavenly dwelling, and that's what must be meant there. So let me dwell in your heavenly place forever might be a more appropriate way to say it. Let's see, and so now we can contemplate it. Verse 6, let's see. Okay. You will prolong the king's life, adding days upon days. His years will be like many generations. 7 is he will sit enthroned forever before the face of God, appoint loving kindness and truth to watch over and preserve him. MacArthur says of this, David sometimes does not distinguish himself from the Messianic dynasty. David might not be talking about himself here. He might be talking about the Messiah, who we know as Jesus. Because he will sit enthroned forever before the face of God, and it certainly would be to appoint loving kindness and truth, to watch over and preserve him. That's that. So I will sing praise to your name forever, paying my vows day by day. Is how that one ends. Okay, Psalm 62. Let me check and see our time. Oh, only halfway done. Good. That's appropriate. So how's it going so far, Rudy?
I love it. You know what? I'm listening. It sounds good.
Well, thank you. Not me, you know. Okay, Psalm 62, title. The Amplified calls it God alone, a refuge from treachery and oppression. To the chief musician, to Jeduthun, Ethan, the noted musician, founder of an official music family, a Psalm of David. The English Standard calls it My Soul Waits for God Alone. It's written to the choir master according to Jeduthun, a Psalm of David. Young's Literal says to the overseer for Jeduthun, a Psalm of David. The Berean Standard calls it Waiting on God, written for the choir master according to Jeduthun, a Psalm of David. And the NIV simply says for the director of music for Jeduthun, a Psalm of David. Let's see. And then in the overview, MacArthur says it's not known whose treason David is facing. It might be Absalom, but it is someone treasonous. That's about all we really know. But considering the next one, I think we might, or the last one in this one, we might be looking at Absalom. Let's see. Okay, verse 1. For God alone my soul waits in silence. From him comes my salvation. The word, this is from the pulpit commentary. The word ak in Hebrew translates as either alone or only, and is used in verses 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 9 in the 62nd Psalm. And it always intensifies the word or phrase to which it is attached. So for God alone, there's emphasis there, and we need to pay attention to that. Let's see, and so He alone is my rock and my salvation. Verse 2, my defense and my strong tower. I will not be shaken or disheartened. Some translations, let's see. Oop. Hold on, I didn't turn the page on the English Standard. The English Standard Version, verse 2 says, He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be greatly shaken. We can see that difference in some translations. I do prefer it to be greatly or much shaken in this verse because of verse 6, and we'll see that when we get there. But it's basically because the word disappears between 2 and 6, we can see David's increasing confidence. But we'll get into that more when we get there. Okay, verse 3 is, how long will you attack a man so that you may murder him, all of you, like a leaning wall, like a tottering fence? Let's see, let me find one with the imagined mischief. Let's see, this is 62. Verse 3. Let's see. Okay, the King James Version, which is what Ellicott was using. How long will ye imagine mischief against a man? And the imagined mischief is the rabbinical reading of a word that occurs only here. So there's something there that really only a few versions like the King James actually gets. Let's see, Christian Standard, how long will you threaten a man? Let's see, imagine mischief, it really seems to be only in the King James. I don't see it anywhere else. Oh, Young's Literal. Till when do ye devise mischief against a man? And so it's kind of missing in the other translation, but that occurs here, only here. And based on the Babylonian reading, we get for this verse, we get, how long will ye assault a man? How long will you try to break him down, as if he were a bowing wall, a tottering fence? And he goes on to say, the metaphor of the falling wall is common in Eastern proverbs. The wall is bowing is said of a man at the point of death. So you can see where the metaphor goes. I mean, basically, David's talking about being at the point of death here. Let's see, the pulpit commentary. You shall be slain, all of you, rather that you may crush him, all of you together. Right, and the Amplified does come about with that. Let's see. Let's see. So you may murder him, all of you.
You know what I like? King David was already going to be king through God's eyes when he was a little boy.
Yes.
Because I know we're going pretty far up, and because you're pausing right now, and I'm just trying to kill some airtime. So he was already made a king, and he wasn't scared of a giant. That's what's beautiful about the guy.
Yep.
if you're gonna tear both of my arms off, I want it from a giant.
Yeah.
But he had confidence in God. He had what do you call that when faith that he was from he
Yep.
was doing God's work.
He did indeed.
Back to you.
Thank you. Let's see. You are destroyed, all of you, as a wall inclined. There's one. Let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. Back to the King James again. This is what a lot of the commentators use. You shall be slain, all of you, as a you shall be slain, all of you. That it's actually better that all of you together. It is David who is viewed by his enemies as the bulged wall or a tottering fence, which it requires only a strong push to throw down. So they're thinking that that David is that the pulpit commentary is saying that David's enemies see him as the bulging wall or tottering fence, something that's easily broken down. Now, MacArthur, in his study Bible, disagrees that it applies to David. Instead, he says it applies to the attacker, not the victim, which, yeah. So again, we have a slight disagreement there between interpretations of the psalm. It happens, and we continue to study. We study language and words and culture and all of that and more to help us determine what exactly it means, what the Bible means. And so we keep studying and keep studying, keep reading, and eventually we'll be in heaven, and God will tell us what it means. But anyway, verse 4, they consult only to throw him down from his high position to dishonor him. They delight in lies. They bless with the words of their mouths, but inwardly they curse. Selah. So again, something to contemplate. Well, here's something to contemplate. Again, from the pulpit commentary. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. Literally translates, they bless with his mouth, which may be explained as meaning either they bless each of them with his mouth, or they bless through the mouth of their leader. In other words, Ahithophel. Ahithophel was the advisor to David who betrayed him for his son Absalom. And so that's part of what we're contemplating, is what exactly it means, and who they're blessing with and who they're cursing with, there were a lot of problems with the traitorous people, with Ahithophel and Absalom, and those who followed them. Let's see, verses 5 and 6. Pulpit again. Notes the similarity between verses 1 and 2 and 5 and 6. For God alone my soul waits in silence. From him comes my salvation. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my defense and my strong tower. I will not be shaken or disheartened. Of course, like I said, some translations say will not be shaken greatly or much. And then 5 and 6, for God alone my soul waits in silence and quietly submits to him, for my hope is from him. And then verse 6, he only is my rock and my salvation, my fortress and my defense. I will not be shaken or discouraged. If you have greatly or much in verse 2, then missing it in verse 6, like I said earlier, is just showing how David has increased in his confidence in the Lord. Let's see, verse 6. That's what I just said. And then there's a Selah in verse 8. Trust confidently in him at all times, O people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. definitely something to be thought about. God should be our refuge in times of trouble, and we should remember to praise Him in times of plenty. Um, Good or bad, we should be going to God. Right, Rudy?
Yes, sir. You know what I like when you said?
Huh.
You need God's help to get to God. I like that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we know from other parts of the Bible that God reaches out to us. He calls us to Him, and to bring us to Him, because we can't find Him on our own. We're not good enough.
Yes, sir.
And so we kind of get lost on the way. Okay, verse 9. Men of low degree are only a breath, emptiness, and men of high rank are a lie, delusion. In the balances they go up, because they have no measurable weight or value. They are together lighter than a breath. Let's see. I found Luke 12:15. Wait, is this right? No, this is not the right. Did I turn too many pages? Wait a second. No, it's 162, but that's not. Oh, I wrote it for verse 9 instead of verse 10. Huh. Okay, that should be verse 10. Sorry. Do not, well, that's kind of important, because many people, then as now, believe that people of high rank or low rank were different. That the wealthy were different from the poor, and that some might be worth more than others. And this is really telling us that that's not true. They're all just emptiness, and so we don't need to think of them as any differently. Anyway, verse 10. I found, do not trust in oppression, and do not vainly hope in robbery. If riches increase, do not set your heart on them. Do not trust in oppression. You okay, baby? Okay. Sorry, the dog was coughing. Okay, let's see. Do not trust. As there always is, there was a group of people who, in David's time, who oppressed those they could oppress, and that's that's sad. David, during his time, did his best to keep them in check, and even now, in this is writing about that. Do not trust in oppression. By robbery, he's not necessarily meaning literal robbery, as in stick them up, give me your money, kind of stuff, but unjust income of whatever kind, if riches increase, do not set your heart on them. Saw Luke 12:15. Then he said to them, watch out and guard. He, as in Jesus, said to them, the disciples, watch out and guard yourselves against every form of greed. For not even when one has an overflowing abundance does his life consist of, nor is it derived from his possessions. And then in support of that, 1 Timothy 6:6. But godliness actually is a source of great gain when accompanied by contentment. That contentment which comes from a sense of inner confidence based on the sufficiency of God. It's not to say that we shouldn't want more than what we have. Wanting more is not a bad thing in and of itself. It's about greed. It's about having your heart, where your heart is, your treasure lies also. Don't put your don't put your treasures on earth, where moth and worm destroy. Um, let's see. Okay, and then on to verse 12. Also to you, O Lord, belong loving kindness and compassion, for you compensate every man according to the value of his work. The Berean Standard makes the note that Paul cites this verse in Romans 2:6. And the pulpit committee has to say about this. Pulpit commentary. Sorry, a pulpit committee is the group of people at a church that decide who is going to be the new pastor of the church. And I've encountered more than one of those. Not trying to become a pastor yet, but just in various ways. And for some reason, it just pops in my head. But the pulpit commentary says, when God rewards well-doing, it is still of his mercy, since no man can claim he deserves reward. So there we go with the 60-second song. Let me check the time here real quick. Oh, perfect. I've got just enough. Well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and stop now because I don't want to rush. And I thought I had been rushing.
Can I say something, sir?
Sure, sir. You can say something, sir.
You know what? I like that you said that, because sometimes I ask God, God, can I have $1 million? And it would be not to do bad. I would have money in my pocket to give to hobos. I'm not sorry, homeless. Give to people, and I honestly, I feel, I don't know if you know. Do you feel that I'm not really after money in life?
No.
I really don't care about money. What it is I gotta pay bills.
Yep.
So that's what it is. I don't care about money because some people want more money.
Yeah.
I knew somebody that was pretty good rich and wanted more money, so he makes deals, and his partner ended up stealing from him.
Mm.
So what happens is you don't, he looked at making more money.
Mm-hmm.
If like Elon Musk, that guy's a billionaire. How do you need that money? Me, myself, if I had $1 million, buy a house, things that I can live the rest of my life. Having $20 million, I would probably pass out to my family and get a food truck. Like my wife, rest in peace, Leah, wanted to sell food. Remember what was it?
Uh-huh.
Sell food
and then have a food truck, and so that she could feed homeless people and people in need.
And see, I wish I could have that. I wish God would give me money to do that dream for my wife, because Leah, rest in peace, Rosalie Maria Chicarello Corlu. And what it is that's what I would want to do. I would want to feed people. I would want to make a difference. And the thing is, I would want to live somewhere, because sometimes I've been homeless when I was younger, and it's sad. It's a sad thing. And sometimes people look at homeless people and say, that's what they want. That's what they're doing. They're lazy. But you know what? I had an uncle, Mikey, rest in peace. He's in heaven now. And what happened was he had mental problems. So he lived at the park. And what it was a lot of the friends, because we all grew up together, a lot of the old-time dudes that knew my uncle would say, hey, Mikey, come and live with me. And he said, nah. And they would give him food, give him money, but he'd get beer too. And then towards his last year, I think, he went to a home, and they figured out he had a mental problem. So they started giving him medicine. And what I'm happy is that God let him die with his thoughts, back to a normal person. And what it was he had a problem that people have, and we got to look at that. We can't just look at homeless people. There's some people that are stealing from people, and that's a shame. God sees that. That's what they got to see. Yeah. They got to understand that God sees that they're stealing. So about money and stuff, it's nice to dream about having stuff that, not to have problems. I don't mind one day that, because we want to buy a motorhome and just live there and hopefully not pay a lot, and because rent is crazy. Yeah. And what it is it's nice to ask things, but make sure if you're going to ask God, you're not doing it so you can, God, give me $1 million, I can go to Vegas and double it. What? And God knows your heart, because I tell God, you know what, God, see, when I first was younger, I would say, give me $1,000,000, God, but then I knew I was going to go to some wrong places. So God knew my heart there. And now my heart that I'm an older person, that I have, I think, more wisdom, I wouldn't go to those places. I would look forward to helping the homeless. And I'm always crazy billionaire rich. I would buy me a big old warehouse, because when I was, where me and my Leah were homeless, we used to have to sleep in a backyard with a tent. We went to this one place that if you did a day's work there, and well, they were passing out food to the homeless, but you could do a day's work and they would give you food and stuff, and that was nice. You can either help or you can just, but me and Leah helped for a while, and we got stuff, and the thing that was nice about that, at least we were happy to, doing some work, and we were getting food. And what it was those were hard times, and what it was it's just something that happened, that we were homeless, and I felt terrible, because I felt so terrible because it was me and Leah, and she was homeless, and I felt so terrible, and a lot of that was because I was on drugs and I couldn't pass a drug test, so I couldn't get a job. Even when me and Leah got together, I was doing drugs and I couldn't pass a drug test. So a lot of these things that happened between me and Leah about money and stuff, was a lot of it was my fault, because I was too busy getting high and not worried about the future. So what it is, but in the end, when I was doing drugs, I wasn't selling drugs because I didn't want to give my sickness to anybody else, and I honestly felt that. I didn't want to give my misery to somebody else and sell just so I could get high. I ended up getting money. Leah used to give me money, and I used to get high. But the thing is, we got to look at, ask, but be sincere about doing good. And you know what? Do your best. And you know what, Jesus, please give me $1,000,000. I'll do good with it. First, I'll buy a house, and then I'll have money in my pocket to give people money that are hungry. I love you, God. I ask in Jesus' name, amen. So you guys are witnesses. I want to be good. But I hope I'm not throwing us off the track, but I think what you said about
we're about ready to be done, though.
About the gift, I think that was for me. Because I do ask God, hey, God, it's chump change. $1,000,000 is chump change.
That is the truth.
You can probably you can find that in God's couch. You reach around there, a couple of quarters here and there. That's just in his couch. So, but you know what? Even when they talk about heaven, golden streets and diamonds and jewels, I honestly, I bet it's a beautiful thing, but I'm not. It's not a big deal to me about gold streets, because you know what? You have everything you want already. God gives us a house. He got a mansion with his house, with a room. And if it wasn't so, God wouldn't have said so. Jesus.
Right.
So remember, people, I love you. And please share my dream. I hope we all get $1,000,000. Okay. Where's that stimulus? I'm going to let you go.
Where's the stimulus? All right. Well, with that, I ask if you have come this far with us, gentle inquisitors, if you will come a little bit further and join us in this family we call Christianity. We do this not with sacrifice, because that's already been taken care of, and we don't do magic spells or mystical ceremonies either, because that's just not how we roll. But instead, what we do is we say a few simple words to align our hearts with that of the Lord's. And the Bible tells us that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And so whether you've been a believer for a second or a century, we know that, you're in need of an alignment, just like I am.
And me too.
And you too. Rudy too. No, Rudy 3.
Yeah, I am.
And Bill 3 too. Oops. But and so we invite you to join us as we say the sinner's prayer together, as we do after every show. And let's do this now. Dear Lord, I am a sinner. Cleanse me of my wickedness. Teach me how to love you with all my heart, mind, soul, and strength. And show me how to love my neighbor as myself. Help me to do the work you would have me do for the building of your kingdom. And guide my steps on the path you would have me take. come into my heart and be the Lord and Savior of my life. And all these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
I love you all.
Love you all. That's right. And with that, we invite you to find yourself a Bible-believing church and some Bible-believing Christians and some Bible-preaching preachers, and go out there and fellowship and find out what your next steps are going to be, because well, pretty much all churches have something for you to do that would be in line with what Jesus wants. And so a lot of prayer and a lot of Bible reading is definitely good for you right now. And also listening to the show. This week we have a couple shows. Thursday night I'll be doing Not Quite After Midnight. I'll have Joseph Leonard and INF Grizzy, a hip-hop artist I am unfamiliar with. But it'll be Joseph Leonard's second shot at the show. So it'll be interesting because they seem, on the surface at least, to be very different people. So it'll be interesting to see how they chat with each other and with me. And then on Saturday will be YWL Online's Anything Can Happen Saturday, where we'll be talking about, let's see here, it's Corinthians. We're still in Corinthians. Let's see. It's fuzzy again. Why did it do that? Darn it. Oh, I can't tell. 1 Corinthians something. Yeah, the screen's gone fuzzy and I don't know why. So join us anyway. Read all of Corinthians. I think it's 28, but I'm not sure. No, I can't read it at all. Darn it. Gospel? No, I don't know. But anyway, and so join us on Saturday for that, and then next Tuesday, a week from tonight, will be another episode of YWL Online, Totally Approachable Bible Study for All, where we'll be continuing our look at the Psalms, starting with Psalm 63. So we'll probably go to 67, right? So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's 5. And we'll keep on going, and we'll see. Maybe my dad will be with us. Maybe not. So you'll have to tune in to find out. But please read the Bible and pray for each other. Pray for us. Anything else you'd like to say to the fine people?
Yes, everybody imagine me with $1 million. Don't pray for it, because it's always up to God what he wants to give us.
Now, if you want something, you pray for it. There's no imagining.
Can you make it $2 million? I got overhead.
Taxes. Got to pay taxes.
Okay, yeah. No, I love you all. Remember, God gives us things and God blesses us. And even the little things that we don't recognize, we are blessed. And thank you very much. And I love you all. Be safe and pray that Mama and Papa have a great vacation.
Yep.
And they find $1 million.
And they find $1 million. Somewhere in the wilds of Alaska.
Waka, waka, waka with the Lord. Bye.
Okay, and that's it for me. Let's see. Did I do the closing credits? Hold on a second. YWL end credits. Ooh, we might have end credits tonight. So at any rate, everybody be safe out there. Remember to wash your hands, and stay tuned for the end credits. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. I'd like to thank my producer, my beloved mother, Eileen Hatch. I, of course, am your humble host. I'd like to thank my co-host, my beloved father, Chaplain Bill Hatch, and my beloved Ed McMahon, Rudy Corlew.
Yes.
Support the show over on Patreon at Bald Spots Pro, if you're so led. And whether it's, don't miss Not Quite After Midnight. You can find it on Facebook and all the major podcasting platforms. And whether it's liking, following, sharing, commenting or subscribing. Be sure to do what it takes to stay informed and kick that algorithm into gear so that we can reach more people. And with that, thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you. God bless you.
Bye.
Bye bye.